Is the year 2000 actually in the 21st century?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually think technically it's the other way, right? Like,
Oh, really?
what is the year 2000 in the 21st century? Or is it the last year of the 19th or the 20th century? Does the millennium start in 2000 or 2001? So this is the same type of question, right?
Ooh.
The 21st century started in 2001, right? So says random internet asshole, right?
Timeanddate.com. They know about times and dates.
Yes. Yep. Is this our first Monday or did we do Monday last week?
I think we did Monday last week.
Okay.
I think.
Still getting used to it.
I like it though. It's actually.
I like it too.
Yeah.
It does make for the long post-weekend day, right? You got your day at work, probably a ton of meetings because it's Monday.
Because it's Monday.
Then you get home, or you are home. Get home from your job by changing your position in your chair slightly. Have some dinner, and then you pop on to stream.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I had a Zen cooking time. I like took 30 minutes, cooked some real food, and that was my like work to home transition. It was good.
What was the real food that you cooked?
I subscribed to a meal kit called Sunbasket.
Okay.
So I had they sent me just parchment paper and like a bunch of broccoli and mushrooms that I just roasted in the oven for 20 minutes on high. With like a little dressing and some Thai basil on top. It was super tasty. And I could have bought it at Berkeley Bowl very easily.
That's awesome. I also baked something in my oven today. I baked nugs. You aware of the nugs?
How are the nugs? Yeah, you mentioned them last night. Are they good?
Yeah. So nugs are, let's say, the impossible burger of chicken nuggets, right? And their goal is to emulate the McDonald's chicken nugget to a high degree of fidelity. I'd say it was pretty good. I mean, I think, like the Impossible Burger, you can tell that it's not quite there. But we got Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, which does a very good job of emulating the McDonald's barbecue sauce. It might be a tiny bit spicier, but it was really good. So I enjoyed it.
That sounds truly delicious. Sweet Baby Ray's is honestly my favorite barbecue sauce. I don't know if that makes
You know, it's funny. I got it at Target, and it was like the main name brand that they had available at Target. And so I thought I was like kind of like budget cutting by getting that. You know, I thought I was getting the Skippy peanut butter of barbecue sauce. But you know what? I like Skippy peanut butter.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing wrong with Skippy. And Sweet Baby Ray's is like possibly even more legit than Skippy, so.
Yeah. So it's real good.
That's great. I'm gonna have to buy some nugs. Are they available at Berkeley Bowls near me?
They're available on their website. They consider themselves
website. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they consider themselves to be the Tesla of plant-based food.
Oh, yeah, this is going downhill fast.
Yeah, it's a pretty dubious comparison. Yeah.
Oh, I can become a beta tester?
I guess that was what I was. I don't know.
Yikes.
You're already on 2.0 though. 2.0 doesn't seem like beta to me.
No, you can pick one or the other. You're in beta or you're at 2.0. Wait a minute. Well, this is why they're not a software company.
Well, they are kind of they like try to run their whole process through software. It continues to go downhill, right?
I was gonna say this is extremely soylent because like there actually is a Nugs 1.6. Like
What was the name of the company again? Eat Nugs.
Eatnugs.com. Oh, I'm sorry. The name of the company is Simulate Inc.
Yeah, so they sort of frame themselves as a kind of software company, but of like if you go to the jobs page.
I'm sorry. Wait, I see the jobs page, but I also see that there's the Snake page. Oh, it just plays Snake.
It just plays Snake. There's a Snake page. I don't go to the Snake page.
Let me. I'm gonna put your screen's not up yet. Here we go. You ready to play some Snake? It's right next to jobs at the bottom. Oh, only in the footer, apparently.
Only in the footer, apparently. Okay. right, let me scroll down. Oh, you know what? I'm actually outside of their website now. Their jobs page is hosted on a jobs page service. So we're gonna play Snake now.
If it loads, you busted the website. It's probably React.
Don't be chicken.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Search me, man.
Oh, and I have to eat the chicken nugget.
You have to eat the chicken nugget. Yeah.
And do I die if I run into the wall? Let's see. No, it wraps around. Is that what Snake normally does? Does Snake wrap around?
I think it depends on the canonical snake. Always running into yourself is bad.
I made a snake. You can play Jeff Lee's Snake on SpongeBob, Creature from the Krusty Krab, on Nintendo Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS. If you play Snake in the arcade there, it's my Snake.
I love it.
It's surprisingly challenging to write Snake. The issue being that when you press, depending on how quickly the snake moves, and if you have the snake moving continuously across the grid, they don't have it moving continuously right now. It's kind of just like going like grid element by grid element right now. But if you have it moving continuously, you kind of have to decide like when you read input and when the thing actually turns, because like it actually has to turn on the grid. It's not.
Oh, right.
Like,
yeah.
all the motion is discrete. So it can feel really weird if you press like a direction and it doesn't do anything. But it kind of can only allow it to move when the front of it reaches a grid point, right? So
Yeah, that
that
makes
is
sense.
the challenge of Snake.
So what you're saying is they've cheated.
I don't think they've cheated. I mean, I think the problem remains whether or not the graphics move continuously or not. It's just maybe the feel is slightly different. At any rate, this is an extremely easy Snake. Doesn't seem to be speeding up. The playfield is very, very generous.
Yeah, and now the only way to lose is to run into yourself, right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Now, easy doesn't necessarily mean bad.
Press F to
Far
pay
be it for
respects.
me to criticize people for not getting good.
This really is quite a company, though. I don't know whether to be extremely turned off or not, but I think I shall buy some Nuggs.
Oh man, I don't know what's going on with the simulation right now in our game, but like basically, I think I'm like way behind the server and catching up.
I refreshed. I left the server. Yeah, I think you are catching up into the negative, and you're going to keep overdriving after this forever.
Yeah. Well, no, my frames ahead of server is getting less and less negative, and at a certain point, I look forward to being able to move. Oh, there we go. Yes.
Oh, nice. Now you're in it. Cool.
Yeah. So, what do we want to do today, Dom? I'm typing, but I think I submit to your will here.
I mean, a great question. I feel actually. Do you want to reload so I can join? Oh, we have to restart the whole server. Blah.
It's all right.
Yeah, I feel like we've got sort of the core of multiplayer in here. I like that we can interact with each other. I feel like some of the hard problems to address are aiming and prediction. Like, it might be nice to run simulated input based on the last thing we've seen from the other client.
Yeah.
It might be nice to try to do space partitioning.
Yeah, I was thinking about both those things.
Yeah, because I feel like our shooter is actually like fairly, like, I see my tick FPS go from 60 to 45. Fairly
And we're basically, it's because of CPU that we're worried about here.
Exactly.
I concur with that. One thing I would like to do as a minor kind of like a warm-up, if you will.
Yeah.
A sun salutation of Jeff and Dom Make a Game is to do something about this spam, this console spam here. So what this console spam here is the server saying I have to idle and because I am running too quickly for any of the clients. And so I'm just going to sit here and wait for a while. So how would we like to deal with that particular situation? So one way we could cheat it is make the server run slower so it never gets into that state. But we kind of want the server to have the capability of running faster than the fastest client.
I think so, and I think we should lean on that.
Okay.
Could we get? I mean, we could over-engineer our output buffer so that it like actually takes over the shell and like is writing the positions on the screen. That seems far overkill, though. We could log to a flat file.
A file. It
Yeah.
could be a file, or it could be some compressed version of this, where we could do a running average of how many frames we actually run versus how many frames we simulate. Right. So the frames we actually run are just like how many cycles we go through, and then we can just like print out every 5 seconds what the actual value is or something like that. What the running average is.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't found the idling to be a super, at least when it's in this state of like, I'm just idling like one frame.
It's actually maybe not even useful information. Is that fair to say?
I'm kind of feeling that, yeah. I'm not sure I have a desire for the idle messages right now. I'd kind of like to be able to like go into debug mode and say something about like to know how far we are behind the client, but I guess we actually get that on the client side with frames ahead of server. So
yes. So what I did is I just canned it.
hell yeah.
I just chucked it.
I think that's good. I don't think we need it.
All right. Well, good. That's a very easy way to solve the problem.
Solve that
just
problem.
delete the code. Yeah. All right, so let's wait for it to build, and I actually think this will make a maybe trivial difference in the performance of my computer here.
It's a real bummer.
But the hypothesis is that like we were spending a fair amount of whatever just printing to the screen, right? Mm-hmm. That's much more quiet. I like it.
What are we seeing? Oh yeah, just connect to player 1 and 2. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's great. That was a nice. Our sun salutation is done. We need to get into the real workout here. You mentioned either carrying forward, doing some kind of like shot prediction, or doing what essentially amounts to a performance optimization where we start doing some space partitioning, so we don't have to do so many comparisons against things.
Yep.
And we are going to have to do that at some point, right? So the question is, do we want to do it today, or do we want to do it later?
I feel like it's a pretty. It's like a really common algorithm for game stuff, right? Like, because this is a super common problem when you have a ton of objects. So I'd be super interested in doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've never written it before, so we'll see.
Neither have I, sort of. So, I mean, not even sort of. I think basically, yes. I haven't really written it to the degree that we're about to write it right now.
Cool.
Because typically you don't have this many. This is a lot of entities. It's a lot of different entities.
Now, do we have too many? Is that like? I guess another thing we could do is like, this map is huge. Have we sort of overdone it?
Right. So the games that I had worked on, what happens is you basically destroy entities that are outside of a certain distance from the camera. Right. So your camera is this rectangle, and then you basically just destroy them.
Okay.
Or you remove them from an active list. They don't get simulated. They don't get rendered. The other thing we can do, which I haven't done, is to create an index. So if you treat the entity list like a database, what do you do when you have to query that database using something interesting like a position, right? What you do is you build an index, right? You build some other data structure that orders the list of entities in a certain way or makes them queryable in a certain way. And then to actually find the entities that you're interested in, you start with the index first rather than going directly at the raw list of entities, right?
Oh, I quite like that. I feel like that maps really nicely to the data we have and the structure of the game right now. I wonder about in the case of destroying objects off camera, how that applies to multiplayer. I guess basically like if I go and destroy a tree and you can't see it, somehow the server is gonna like eventually let you know like, hey, this tree on the map is gone. Like update your map or something.
That is tricky, right? With multiplayer, we assume that all entities are potentially in play, right?
Potentially, or we have a. I guess like if it's outside of your view, do I ever need like? I don't need to simulate anything outside of my view, and if you go and destroy that tree, that's okay. As long as we like have as long as the server message comes in that says like, hey, that tree is destroyed.
Yeah,
and we're tracking.
But we'll have to come up with a way of. That assumes that we have some notion of the server telling clients what to do that's outside of deterministic simulation, right? Which
True.
That concept doesn't exist yet.
True.
I've been thinking that we kind of have to invent it at some point, but that's not a very coherent thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was thinking if we're going to do like entity calling outside the viewport, we actually still need a way to address stuff by like coordinate, because we'll need to be able to rebuild a map and say like, hey, like this row is about to come in, like let me iterate through the indexes I need. So I think the indexing actually sounds like a really great choice.
Right.
Ooh,
so
Quadtree.
okay. So if we do indexing, the typical way we do this, the terminology is spatial indexing. In fact, I think this article probably isn't just like, this is the use case that we're looking at, right? Spatial indexing. And it's basically what I said before. Like we need an index. We typically want to do like collision-oriented stuff or even rendering-oriented stuff, and we just want an index that exposes us to a subset of the full list of entities that we've got, right? Just because, like, otherwise it's just like we have too many things, right? So I have never written one of these things before.
So, me neither.
We're gonna have to figure out how it works, right? So the Quadtree is typically the way that this is done. If you're in 3D space, you do an octree. The reason why is that what you want is to be able to evenly subdivide an area or volume of space, so that you basically make sure that each node, regardless of how much area or volume a node covers, has a maximum number of elements stored inside of it. This is actually kind of to carry the database analogy forward. This is similar to the way that most database indices work. Database indices are B trees, which are like essentially what we think of as a binary search tree. Only each node has hundreds of children rather than like two children, right? With a quad tree, we kind of add a little bit of a spatial element to it, right? So what we do is we start with the full map. Actually, I was going to draw. Let me draw.
Oh yeah. And what's the? I'm trying to reboot my computer science brain. What is the like runtime of this? Because is this log n to find, or is it? This is actually maybe constant time to find anything in our map. That's pretty cool. Or like login over
Yeah,
4. I don't know. I'm having
it's
trouble with
logger-
the. I think it's yeah. It can't be constant. Like I wonder if it's login over 4 though, because you get that nice factor of the actual quad tree. I like this.
Yeah, so I think the idea is that you start off with your full map, and you've got nothing in it. And so your quad tree has one node in it, right? Not very exciting so far. So let's actually let me actually erase this so I don't take up so much space. And I want to draw both the visual, the kind of like area that the quad tree is describing, and then also the structure of the quad tree itself, right? So I have a node here, and that's our tree. Now this is eventually going to look like something like this, right?
Yep.
But for now, all we've got is the one node. And so we're actually just going to reverse engineer this right now. Like I might be talking out of my ass right now. So
No, let's do it.
basically not any different than the rest of the stream, right? So basically, we're going to have some notion of a threshold that says, we're going to like put a bunch of elements into this node. So each node has child nodes, and it also has elements, right? And I think similar to like, there are some trees where they only contain data at the leaves. And I think that's actually true in this case, right? When I say data, I like either you are a node that has children or you're a node that has data in it, right?
Okay.
So what's an example of that? I think binary search trees aren't quite like that, right? Binary search trees carry data in each of the nodes.
Right, because you could find your element at the root of the tree.
Right.
Yeah.
But B trees don't. B trees either have children or they have data. And so basically your data is distributed at the leaves. Right. Or you could just consider that each unit of data is a data type node, as opposed to like an intermediate type node. Right. So let's suppose that we let's say our like maximum capacity for a particular, like maybe we could say that, let's just say, like, for ease of explanation, each node can have at most 4 children, right? So we insert an entity here, and that becomes this. And then we insert an entity here, and that becomes this. And basically, there's no real, in the tree structure itself, there's no real organization. It just says that, like, these entities are children of that node, right? And then we add another one here, and another one here. So we've got 4 children. And so far, we're not getting anything out of this quad tree. It's not making anything faster because we basically have 4 entities in the total simulation and then 4 children of our node. This thing isn't speeding anything up right now, right? But let's say we had a 5th entity, like a tree or something like that. And at this point, what we're going to do is subdivide the area into equal regions. And what this is going to do so this is an operation that happens upon insertion. Sorry, my iPad's the transmission is way behind. In fact, let me stop the server. I think this will help the CPU of my computer.
Yeah, you don't need to be running that. And the client.
The client, I believe, is already closed. Yeah. So this time what we do is we add child containers. And let me actually make these different icons so it's a little bit easier to understand what I'm pointing at here. And then let's see, it's a dot, right? And so this one has a little guy. This one has the square. This one has the circle. And then this one has a dot and a triangle.
Okay.
Right? And so now we start to see potentially how we could make this a little bit more efficient now that we have this subdivision. Because we could say, okay, I want to do collision detection, and my bullet here is in this quadrant, right? And so I can just say, well, I know that the bullet is here, so give me the entities that are in this quadrant with me, and that'll go down this branch of the tree. And now you've cut out, 80% of all the entities in the simulation, and you can pay attention to the ones that you care about, right?
Exactly. So are the nodes that are branches, they contain data about their dimensions?
That's a really good question. Yes.
Yeah. And I feel like actually there might be I'm wondering if one of the optimizations for this particular data structure is that it's the reason it's a quadtree is that you can sort of like get a nice, like if my dimensions are by half, I can very easily figure out my index into my 4 children by just like giving me coordinates and running a little algorithm on them.
Yeah.
That should be constant time. So that's really cool.
So what's interesting about this diagram here is not all of your branch nodes are going to be of the same size. So
Right.
that's actually relevant to your comment about containing, like, labeling these things with dimensions, right? I do think that the depth that you are in the tree will tell you that. So, like, depending how far down you go in the tree, that'll tell you how big it will be, because it's always going to be like half of the thing that was above.
Right. So yeah, you can always
one quarter of the area, but half of one dimension, right?
I see. So you could infer your entire position on the map by which branch of the tree you've taken. That's really cool.
Yeah. So you could see how this would really help us with collision detection, right?
Absolutely.
Let me. I wonder if this even works still.
Let's run this locally. Oof.
Yeah.
Do you need to set number of players to 1 to?
Well, I'm just trying to get the tools, so
Oh yeah.
hopefully it'll compile, right?
Forgot about those.
Yeah. Because otherwise it'll just be running the client, and the client will just be attempting to connect to the server, right? And the server won't be there, and I think we'll just get like a, some error message. Sorry, still building.
No, it's cool. I scrolled down to the pseudocode, which seems like we're actually on the right path.
Was I correct in saying that it subdivides upon insert?
Not there yet, but looks like. Yeah. Yeah, if you
Oh,
see,
yeah, it does.
if northwest is null, subdivide, yeah.
Yeah. Building React prop type secret. Gosh,
Well, that is the tools.
it's true.
I see. If there's less than 4 nodes and you haven't subdivided, then you can add children up to 4, and then otherwise you have to subdivide and send your children down. That's cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
and it's funny because they chose a node capacity of 4, which was, it's a total accident that I chose that as well. It doesn't have to be 4. It could be whatever you want it to be.
Oh, I see, because
right.
you could actually have 10 entities in your quad and subdivide down until you have like chunks of that. That's cool.
Yeah. So let's go to localhost 1234, and I wanted to go to the map editor, and I wanted to open the big map.
The big map.
Gosh, this is crawling. I've got what running? I've got QuickTime running. I've got Zoom running. I think Zoom might be the culprit here. I think Zoom is slow.
Zoom's not helping. Yeah.
Yeah. Source, assets, maps, collision tests. Oh, it's the big map, actually.
Oh yeah, I call it big map.
Okay, so let's come out a little bit. All of the dark green things are entities. Those are the trees. All of the gray things are entities. Those are the walls. Obviously, the turrets are entities. And let's actually turn the grid off. It's a little bit easier to see. And then the water, the grass, and the mountains are just terrain, so they don't really matter here for performance. But we've got a lot of entities, right? We get a ton. And so we could see how, like, if a bullet was traveling into this little forest here, it would be nice if all we really cared about was like some subdivision of or some subset of the total number of entities that are there. Right now, what we're doing is we're iterating over every single thing that we could possibly hit, right? Which is a huge waste. And we're doing it potentially multiple times per tick because we're re-simulating a lot of data that has come over the network, right? And that's the reason why we decided to work with this today, is because it's impacting our networking capability.
Yeah, and especially we can see sort of a linear impact based on how many bullets are on the screen too, and how many times like we're checking, and then how many times the other client is forcing us to check. So
yeah.
This feels like
and this matters
big.
for the wall collider. It matters for the damager system, right? Both of those systems do this kind of like entity to entity collision algorithm.
Yeah, and going forward too, there is the turret aiming, because they're raycasting in a straight line and sort of checking. They have to check every entity to see, like, are you on the line, which is really annoying. Right. And then our builder, when it comes back, is also going to be able to use this for pathfinding. So I think I feel like if we added another system today, we would slow the game to a crawl.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. So I think this race is an interesting question, right? Right now, every entity that I've described is basically a point entity, right? So, and like the reason why point entities are easier to work with is that the way that the regions are subdivided, you can only ever be under one parent exclusively, right? If you're a point entity. However, we don't really have point entities, especially when we're talking about collision. What we have are areas, right? So the question I have is, like, what do you do when you have an entity that's like this? Their hitbox is straddling a couple of regions, right? Or if you're really unlucky, they're like this.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like one of the things that is a challenge is like our entities are areas, but all our map entities can only have one parent. Like, we can't actually subdivide a turret or a wall or a tree. I think players and bullets don't go in this.
Right.
Because we want to index into like basically, like, perhaps we have to toss every player into the list of like damageables when we do this, but that's okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So for things that are not grid aligned, you're saying let's just
check.
Let's just iterate over all of them anyways.
Yep.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Another thing that we could do is add the same entity multiple times into the tree.
Ooh.
Right. So you would take the take the corners of the entity, assuming that we're not rotating these volumes, and we basically add the entity to every single region that it is actually overlapping. right? And let that be a thing that's legal.
Interesting. I wonder how expensive that ends up being for. Like, if this seems to have good insert performance, but what is delete performance like if when we then need to remove it from the tree? And
Yeah.
does driving the tank through the map just like destroy our tree performance? So lots of questions.
Yeah. I think delete performance is, I think, a similar question to update performance, because what if you had something that was moving that was that was in the quad tree, right? I think it's a similar question. You basically need to remove it from the quad tree from its old position and then add it back in.
Okay.
And I actually think the cost of deletion might be similar to the cost of insertion, in the sense that you basically take the position that it's currently at, find it in the quad tree, and then remove it, right? And then if you have a situation like what I've drawn here, where you're allowed to be in 4 different regions at the same time, so be it. What you would do is you would just like look for every region that you're inside of, remove it from all of those things, and then add it back in when you move. So it could be pretty expensive, right?
Yep.
So maybe, I mean, this suggests a couple different things. We could have a really, really general Quadtree implementation that allows for things that move and allows for things that straddle different regions. Or we could have a very, very simplistic Quadtree that is grid aligned and only subdivides along grid markers, right? Something like that.
I think I'm more interested in the latter for now.
Okay.
That definitely seems to be like the biggest bang for the buck, and I can't anticipate sort of how, like, if we'd be losing something if we did the more generic one, but like actually we get twice as much performance out of a really specialized one.
Yeah.
Would it be worth it to have like multiple instances of a quad tree? Like the grid aligned one would actually just be the one we feed map entities into, and the not grid aligned one would be the same data structure that we feed the players into, or something.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. And so we could actually try and implement. I mean, I can imagine that subdivision might have special logic if it's grid aligned, because we want to make sure that unless the grid is a power of 2, and maybe we should just assume that the grid is a power of 2 and we can always subdivide. Right, because if it's not a power of 2, then you can no longer divide things by half evenly along both axes, right?
Right.
Yeah. But we could do that. I think one final question I have about implementation before we start writing these things is, what happens if you do this? It's going to take a little while to update, but I erased one of the entities. Do you merge ever, is my question. Or do you just keep the node structure the way it was?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I was thinking leaving it is okay. And just having it return nothing for that particular child will be fine.
Well, I guess this implementation only does insertion and querying, so it kind of neatly dodges the problem that we're describing.
Yeah, but I could see how a deletion, a merge would not be terribly challenging. I guess you have to know the arity of all your children too, right?
You would need to know how many. Yeah, so maybe one thing that every intermediate node has is a count of the number of the total number of elements it actually contains in all of its descendants, something like that.
The total number of elements it contains in all of its descendants, because like if it's not.
And so what I mean by that is that this would say 4 up here. This would say 1. This would say 1. This would say 2. Something like that.
What was I say? If it's not holding data, we know that it's 4. Like if it doesn't have entities in it, so it's always 4 the whole way up the tree. But it's
At the root, we know it's 4, but because that's just the same thing as the total number of entities in our entity list, right?
true. Well, oh, I see. So if there was a fifth entity, the root would be 5, is what you're saying.
Yes. If we had the stick figure back here, let me draw it back in.
Interesting.
Its parent would be 1, and the root would say 5. Anyways, I think that's only necessary if we do merging. Mm-hmm. We may find that it's interesting to actually have that number, but maybe we don't need it right away.
Yeah, I think we could get away without it for now, but I agree.
Okay. Well, I guess we can get right into it.
All right, Quadtree's going to look real good next to our A star.
Oh, you're already thinking about like where it goes in the directory.
No, I'm just thinking about all the algorithms we're putting in here, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I take it. I wasn't disagreeing. So let's do it.
Hell yeah. Where does A star live?
Priority queue.
It's not.
It was pathfinding, right? Pathfinder's in source map. That's an unusual place to put it.
Oh yeah. Though for what it's worth, this also might go in source map because it's the map. I like it in util.
Okay.
Because we should instantiate a Quadtree for the map.
Okay. So we're gonna have a couple types.
Mm-hmm.
Node.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be like children, an array of nodes, and I guess we have to contain something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's annoyed at me because I think I'm not using it. Oh, you know what? I guess there's a DOM thing called a node.
Oh, yeah. Q node? Careful, you're going to start a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first one. So we could either do it like that, if we agree that intermediate nodes could contain items, or we could do something like this, where type, what's a better word for intermediate node? Branch node, I think I like. And this is going to be kind of recursive. Leaf is a little bit weird.
No, I see what you're saying.
It's a leaf with multiple things,
it's
and then we say that like, what's that?
Oh, just that it's a leaf of leaves, yeah.
And then this is either a branch node or a leaf node, right?
So when we choose to subdivide, if I'm a leaf node, I'm splitting. I have to tell my parent, drop your reference to me, I'm becoming a branch.
That is actually a very interesting.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to actually have them in the same type of node for maybe that reason. Because I don't want to know about the parent pointer, or rather, I expect nodes and trees not to know what their parent is, unless that's like part of the tree. Yeah.
Yeah, because we currently don't have a parent pointer. Although lots of tree structures do that.
Some do.
But okay.
So far I haven't really seen it as like a property of this one though, and I think I feel like some trees omit it.
The only problem with this is that like you shouldn't be allowed to have both of these populated at the same time. And right now, technically, you can represent that.
True.
Okay. Let's just crank it out and see what happens. Do we really have 6 problems? Oh man, there's so many TypeScript errors.
Oh, you shouldn't open Pathfinder. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't have opened it. It was really my problem, right? Export class Quadtree. It actually, is Quadtree even a class, or is this our Quadtree? You just have one of these things.
What are our operations? So we're going to init it with some nodes that have a positional. We're going to init it with a size, and with nodes that like are positioned in that size somehow. I feel like we need to have a. It needs to be a class because we need to have maybe a method that steps through those nodes.
Sure.
I guess like they could do it themselves.
Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to have this ability to insert, right?
Mm-hmm.
And probably the simplest thing we can do is like, and that basically gives us nothing, but
Yep.
theoretically we could use this, right?
Yeah, that's a Quadtree that we can start with.
Okay. And maybe let's go ahead and export this.
And I was gonna say, I feel like our T needs to conform to something because does T need to have properties that are like position on it?
Yeah.
Also, our Quadtree needs dimensions.
And what do we need to basically be able to return here? It's something like a position function. Is it a vec2?
I like that. I feel like that'll treat us well.
Okay. And we
probably need to export that. Yeah.
then items is tnode t implements t item.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying we probably have to export this.
Probably.
Well,
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
is implements the right thing?
I thought so. TypeScript doesn't think so.
Generic interface constraint. I might be thinking in Rust terms. I want to make sure that I'm actually able to do this.
I mean, it might just be our...
He extends. Extends doesn't seem right to me. Generic constraints. That's what we want. Extends. Okay.
Huh, okay.
All right. Well, stop complaining.
Sweet.
Okay. So what does the query look like? Do we pass in a single point? Or do we send in a bounding box or something like that?
The pseudocode goes by AABB, so it returns everything. It returns everything it finds with like a rectangle of any size, and
okay.
I like that because like for our bullets we could actually choose to, from where they're shot, always hand them like the AABB of size, distance or something. Mm-hmm.
Is that basically it?
Yep.
Okay. So for now, it would basically be something like for and I probably have to do this, right?
Yeah, for that case, yeah.
If pull out the position, and we basically say if the
I bet we'll want A is point inside AABB a lot in this function.
Yeah, we have an
have
AABB
that.
class, do we?
Is it in collision?
Segment
That's
to
our
AABB.
segment. Yeah.
And our AABB is just an array of vec2s. I don't know what conventionally we meant to this. We intended for the meaning here. Is AABB two points, or is it a position in dimensions?
It looks to me like it's 2 points based on that.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the better representation? I think they're kind of equivalent. We have a hitbox, which kind of is pointless, offset in dimensions.
But it returns, its AABB returns it in 2 points, which is at least helpful.
Okay. Yeah. So what is more useful to you? Should we just do the AABB like we've established so far and just go with it?
I guess so, yeah.
And then what are you saying? Like const AABB contains?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a Boolean.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to do the whole this thing. Yeah. Okay. And so what this means is we will return position 0, or like what will AABB 0 0 is less than or equal to this, and 0 is less than or equal to AABB 1 of dimension 0.
Yep.
And basically the same thing, only we do dimension 1.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Will it let me do something like this, just to clean it up a bit, or will it complain?
Yeah, that should be valid.
Okay. It is Boolean. Yep. Okay. And then what we're saying is it here is if like AABB contains of AABB P res dot push
I. Love it.
And that's it. Do we write a unit test for this?
Yeah, it's been good when we've done that for this stuff.
Okay. And we did it for the priority queue, right?
And we made some pretty significant improvements on it and the collision stuff while we were doing that, so it was really helpful.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can measure. I guess we can assert on depth and whether or not something should trigger an insertion or not. That'll be interesting.
I'm just making sure that we can run this thing. How do what's my hotkey for the execution menu? I got rid of my little mode selector.
Shift Command X. No, that's extensions.
Extensions. This is the file explorer. R maybe? Nope, it's not R. What is the build menu? Indexing Ruby source files. What are you doing?
Having a good time out there.
Debug. Shift Command D. Aha!
Hey.
It's D. Yes. I love it. All right. We're going to run this sucker.
Or are we? Wait, I thought we did that.
You know what? This is a new computer. This is not a new computer.
Wait, sorry, I can't find node.
You know, I do have a funny thing in my... I have a thing that prevents NVM from running until the first time you use a node command.
Oh, interesting.
but I feel like it should work unless it's not running my ZSHRC. So I would really like this to work. So let me mess with something really quickly.
Sounds good.
I like it that whenever I open a terminal, it runs Xcode build. That makes me feel good.
Aye. Gosh.
I don't know what's going on.
I have questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I have major questions. So this is ZSHRC here. And then I guess we just comment this out, the lazy load. And then if we reload this,
see what we get. Okay, fingers crossed.
Still can't find node. Or set the runtime executable in your launch.json.
Ah, I guess your node isn't. What?
Yeah, node is a shell script.
Huh.
Or it's a shell function, sorry. Because I'm using
NVM.
the Zeesh NVM plugin.
Gotcha. Oh man, I gotta
This is
say,
a lot of futzing.
yeah, I love ASDF so much.
And it's fine with this?
For this stuff, yeah, because the way it switches is that it's actually always a binary that it puts in your path at a constant location. And when you switch, it actually rewrites the contents of the binary, which is just like a shell script that's plus X'd.
Oh, that's really good.
But you always have a thing to point at, which is really nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got this from Kuroki. I have a strong love of this one though.
You know, I used ASDF for a while, but it actually ran into weird little corner cases. And then people at my job started using MVM for Node, and I was like, damn it. Because I think MVM sucks. I avoided it for a while.
Isn't it Ruby based too? Like it runs Ruby to switch node.
Is that why I was running Ruby? I don't know.
I think so.
I thought MVM was just like a huge number of shell scripts.
Oh, it could be. Maybe RBM is the one that's definitely still running Ruby.
Well, here's the thing. It's like I want to know what node I'm running.
Ah, interesting.
So is this basically what I would do here is like runtime executable this?
Seems good.
Okay.
Hey, nice.
That looked like it worked.
Man, our JavaScript world is just dumb.
It's well, yeah,
not like ours, just like the royal R's.
Yes.
Hey,
okay,
cool.
It failed, which is great. I'm glad that we made it.
I would very much worry if that didn't.
Okay, so what we just want to do is we just want to test basic usage of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's max items. It doesn't really matter right now. We're not doing anything with that, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're doing qt.insert, and this probably needs a type.
I guess it would.
Well, it needs a position, right?
That won't
so
work,
we need
yeah.
some type here.
You could do an interface and define it, or that, yeah. Yeah, it has a method. We better instantiate it.
Yeah. This is kind of. And so I guess this is just going to be.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure pause can be called pause.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so new test item. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right?
Okay.
It doesn't like my create here. Expected 0 arguments, we got 2. Is it vec2 from?
From values. There we go.
Okay, and then now we say cute dot query of an ABB, which maybe goes from the origin to 1, 1, maybe?
Sounds good.
And we expect this to... So how do we do a equality check against class instances?
I mean, I would expect the length to equal. I would expect the result to equal to. You could also capture the.
I can map this to.
I mean, really, we should just have like const item 1 equals new item, because like we need a pointer to the object to do equality against. Otherwise, you can't.
I see what you're saying.
But we can, yeah. Nice.
What? Ugh. Sorry, the hotkey lag is a little bit weird right now.
No, you're good. Yep.
All right. So if we query this, we would expect it. And see, ordering matters here, right?
Depends on. Are we using jest or are we using something else? Looks like we're in jest.
It's not about jest. It's about our implementation of the Quadtree.
I was gonna say I think there's a matcher that's like to include. Like we don't actually. I don't want to depend on array ordering, and I don't think we need to.
To contain.
Yep, there you go. To contain equal is interesting as well.
What does it mean?
I don't know. That's what I was curious about.
Rather than checking object identity. Okay.
Oh, cute. But to contain is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what we really want to do here is we would query this. We expect the results.length to be 2. And then.
Oh, I think.
And then we can just do this one item at a time, right? We expect results to contain items 0 and items 1. And that's it, right?
Yep. Too bad you can't do multiple. You can. Expect array containing will give you. You can just pass in 2 items.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
This is super slow. It's incredible. Let's take a look at the activity monitor again. I feel like I've got nothing running right now.
You got Zoom running.
Gosh.
Yikes.
I think I just need a faster computer. I've said this so many times now.
What's
that,
going on in your
it's getting
memory
old.
tab? What the fuck is AV Conference D? It's probably Zoom.
It's probably Zoom.
Yeah.
5 gigabytes. You know what? We are shuttling over a 1080p signal to, another computer.
Yeah,
Right?
and a pretty crisp video. I have a thought, which is if you turn off HD video, you'll send less, but also I don't care.
I think it should be HD video, though.
I think it should too.
Yeah. It doesn't help, Adobe Desktop Service. I'm not even using that right now. It's 200 megabytes. I don't even think it's open right now.
No, but for what it's worth, your memory isn't even paging because you've got 3 gigabytes totally
It's true.
unused. So
Yeah. I think it's just really that I think Zoom occupies a full CPU core on a modern Mac computer. Yeah. All right. Message received.
just hold out another month, man. Get that RMac. It's gonna be what we want.
Man.
It's gonna be so good for exactly what we're doing. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I think.
It's typically against my, I don't know, the idea of early adopting an entirely new ISA is just a little bit scary to me. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you just get a new quad-core 13-inch because those are also great.
Yeah. Okay.
Passed.
It
Great.
passed. Okay, great. What is another test for this? Or is this sufficient?
Let's see. It's nice because that includes boundaries.
Yep.
I like that we've got the 0 and the 1 there. I was worried one of them would fall off.
Yeah.
I don't care about testing.
We could do something comparative, right? We could put everything in there. Oops.
Double const.
This is not going to work.
Yeah. But yeah, I expect that to work too. I guess empty set is interesting. I don't see that tested yet. Cool. And like someday with 5 items, is there any way we can insert that the structure is doing the right thing? Like it'll be hard to.
Oh, that it's internally, like, are you saying test the performance?
Yeah. Well, or test it like when we insert the 5th item, like we go from 1 node to 5 nodes, right?
Oh, that's subdividing correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how to behavior. I know how to, like, I mean, theoretically, I think what you're talking about is like kind of benchmarking a little bit.
Not
Yeah.
benchmarking, just asserting that there's really it's hard to assert anything about insertion otherwise, right? Like unless we can say like, oh yeah, it totally like subdivides when we put the 5th element in there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could unit test a function. I don't know if we can actually test insert specifically.
Yeah, I would say if there's like interfaces internal to this that we'd want to test, it would be more about like testing the raw guts of this thing. But I almost think it would be like a different test at that point.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, yeah, maybe there is a performance test of some kind where, we could time it. I don't know what we could do.
Right. Okay, so what is this like? So we're inserting, and insert exists on the tree structure. It doesn't insert on the node. So we're going to have to be a little bit creative on how we do this recursively.
It exists on the tree
Unless
structure.
there's an insert function that takes the node as its argument. So something, and I think that's kind of like what I've seen in there. So it's like a node insert where the node is a is a T node.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a item T.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just basically say, and this is where we need to know the dimensions of the node, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, or we tell it what the dimensions are as an argument.
You mean in terms of
what do you think?
In terms of the max items, or the node needs to know where it is, right?
It needs to know where it is. Yeah.
I think that needs crud. It doesn't need to be on the node because we can always figure it out. So I think
there's an AABB of
what we're looking at. I like that. Yeah.
What we're looking at. Yeah. And there's an invariant here that the item fits inside of the AABB, right? Yep. We just assume that to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if this were like C, I'd do a debug assertion there in 2 and 4 7. We're just going to assume that it's the case right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I slightly like. This is really 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I slightly like this better.
Into it, yeah.
Okay, so if the node has children.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to insert it into one of the children, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so we basically have to decide which quadrant of that AABB the item goes into, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
Oh, actually, no. The pseudocode was very interesting because they just called insert 4 times. And I think it's actually doing the invariant check that you were thinking of, which is that like if item does not fit inside ABB, just return false.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, which is it's clean. I like it, and it lets us be nice and recursive.
Yeah, we have to kind of do the math anyways. So what you're saying is like if not AABB contains.
Mm-hmm.
AABB
and item.pos, yeah. And
we're gonna need to do this multiple times. I don't think we do.
Mm-mm.
And then what you're saying is we
needs a Boolean too because we have to know. You know what? I'm wrong. Sorry.
Is this children actually a tuple?
Yes.
And then enum northwest,
mm-hmm.
northeast,
mm-hmm.
southeast, southwest.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay. Why is it complaining about this? Did I?
You copy pasted that function twice.
Oops. Thanks. So what we do here now is we say, if this dot, or if node dot children dot length greater than 0,
mm-hmm.
then we do one thing, right?
Right. We try to insert item into every child. And actually, given that like 0, 0, and 1, 1 were sort of on, I feel like one of our dimensions needs to be less than instead of less than or equal to. Because like we need to have, otherwise if our, right now 0, like the axes are actually in 2 quadrants with the ABB contains. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we just need to pick like one of them to be exclusive.
That is a great point. And if we're talking about pixels or grids, yes. So I think 0 belongs to. I think the affinity maybe is just. I think I like this.
Okay, so 0, it's like weighted to the left. So what 1 is in the next?
Weighted towards the lesser values.
Yeah.
So what is it in decades? Is the year 2000 actually in the 21st century?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually think technically it's the other way, right? Like,
Really?
what is the year 2000 in the 21st century? Or is it the last year of the 19th or the 20th century? Does the millennium start in 2000 or 2001? So it's the same type of question, right?
Ooh.
The 21st century started in 2001, right? So says random internet asshole, right?
Timeanddate.com, they know about times and dates.
Yes. Your source for all your time and date needs. Popular culture holds the year 2000 as the first year of the 21st century. Wikipedia will know. I trust Wikipedia with my life. Probably literally, right?
You know, it's very interesting. This is like the one thing in pop culture or in our culture that is 0 counted outside of computing.
Interesting. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Popular culture holds this. According to the Gregorian calendar, these distinctions fall to the year 2001 because the first century was retroactively said to start the year AD 1. Because there's no year 0.
Come on, Gregor.
Right.
What's up? Well,
Who is the Gregorian in... Who's the Greg in Gregorian?
Greg's really messing stuff up for us, so...
Come on, Greg. Gregory. Pope Gregory the 13th. 1582. He's not as OG as you think he would be. 1582 is like really, really late.
Oh, yeah. The
Long after the discovery of the new world.
calendars are new. That's the weird thing.
So you're saying there's hope for us to go to, what is the Swatch time unit?
Oh, Swatch Internet Time? Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Swatch time.
It is. I had a Swatch Internet Time watch.
Beats. Beats. There's hope.
God, these are terrible.
Right. Okay.
Oh, Swatch.
Is there some kind of like SI unit of time that is better than the second? Have we invented that?
No, I don't think so.
Or is it all? It's just the second.
I think it's the second.
It's just like how long light travels across markings in a platinum bar somewhere in France. Something like that.
I think that we should change our frame counter to be in Swatch beats instead of frames per second because
Okay.
we really need to get to the future.
I mean, the beat is exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking for, right? It's like after we've killed all the rich people, we decide that we need a new numeric system. We convert America to the metric system. But this is brilliant. You know, it's like, let's take the radical base 10 orientation of the metric system and apply it to the solar day. It makes complete sense.
Exactly.
Right?
I love it. I think the reason it sucked is that it had no time zones.
Okay.
So like I couldn't ever be somewhere at 50 beats and like someone would know where I was, right? Like 50 beats.
So it's fully like UTC is what you're saying.
It's always UTC and there was no like, yeah. It was challenging.
It also is centered around Switzerland.
Yep.
And I have an extreme distaste for the Swiss.
Not a fan of fondue. Too neutral for
I
you?
actually have no opinion about Switzerland one way or the other. I'm a kind of like I've mixed feelings, but ultimately a fan of Roger Federer. So maybe I'm like vaguely pro
I was
Switzerland.
gonna say you seem to be a fan of Switzerland.
Yeah, because I like beats. I like Roger Federer. Okay, I'm pro Switzerland. I'm fine with Switzerland. They're great. The Swiss are amazing. I love the Swiss. I decided all of these things through the course of this stream. It's incredible.
Oh
All right. Where the hell was I?
I
don't even know.
We made it anti-Gregorian.
Got it. So const a quadrant of AABB. Which returns another AABB.
Hell yeah.
And so what we do is we do this.
Alfred. Get out of here, Alfred.
Get out of here. AABB 0. All right. This is going to be a bit of a head jam for me. It's just the first one, right?
Yep.
And then it's like AABB 0. This is where this being a position kind of sucks, right? Because we need the length and we need the height and the width, right?
Should we change it?
It's kind of. I'm gonna stick with it now, and if it's super painful, then
Okay.
we will change it then.
Cause yeah,
That is the height.
I'm seeing why this is annoying.
That is the width. And this is dimension 0.
Yeah. And it's probably AABB, not Vec2 for that.
Sorry, come again?
Line 29 and 30, we're indexing into AABB, not Vec2.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you good.
And probably what's interesting is the half widths and the half heights.
I think so, because that is always our quadrant width.
Yeah. And these are confusing variables, right?
Are we? Is our quadtree always square? Doesn't have to be, I guess.
It kind of is nice when it's square.
So then our half widths and half heights would be the same. At least in terms
I see what you're saying.
In terms of quadrant splitting, we could always rely on quadrants are square. The AABB passed in for querying won't be square.
Yes. Well, let's assume that it's not square for now. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Let's assume that it's not.
Cool.
Half width and AABB 0. This is going to be the easiest one, right? Plus half height.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah. It's terrible after this. It's just awful. But I'm glad you're with me here.
Oh, yeah, we got
You're
this.
with me on the right. I think this one starts at this.
Yep. And ends at... Oh, God.
AABB 1.
1 on the X, but 1 plus half height on the Y.
This. Gosh, there are a lot of brackets here. I needed one here. And just to not drive myself insane.
And Northeast starts on line 37. We don't use half height because the quadrant starts on... Yeah.
Gosh. And then this is missing a bracket. I think we'll retain our sanity if I just add a little bit of white space here, right?
That's very helpful, yeah.
Yeah. And then the southeastern one does start on this.
Wait, sorry. Northeast, the second coordinate, I don't think is finished.
Northeast.
We want the right edge of the quadrant. So it's at, no, I think the x is the x position of the second vector in the AABB.
Okay, so this is
One.
1, 0?
Yeah.
Correct.
And half height is correct for the other one. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think the southeast quadrant starts at the lower right corner of the northwest quadrant, right? And then ends at AABB 1, right?
Yep.
That one's relatively simple. And then finally, this to bring it around the clock, the southwest quadrant starts at a thing that we've never looked at before, right? Which is this plus the half height. And then ends at plus half width. And
what, AABB 1-1? Yep. Okay. Gosh,
amazing.
That might just work.
That might just... And then I need to fix my function declarations. I'm going to cave and just write functions at some point.
Should we unit test that?
Yeah. That means I have to export it, but whatever.
Yeah. It's nice, though.
And then I have to export this.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Test. I like how you're keeping me honest. You and I used to be in interviews together as part of a panel where we would literally ask candidates, like, how would you unit test this? And it would be exactly this kind of stuff, right? And now it's coming back around, which is fine.
It's great. I mean, the dirty secret was I feel like I wrote no unit tests at that job for like years. And neither did anyone who joined the team. But it was great. There's no time for unit tests when you delete the code base every 12 months.
When you have a generic function, I think it goes like this, right? Yes.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Today you learned.
I did just learn.
All right. Let's see.
So let's define an AABB of like 0 to 2. 0, 0 to 2, 2. And then subdividing that should be pretty easy.
Yeah. Expect the quadrant of AABB of our AABB with the quadrant with the northwest quadrant. Let's import this. Why is this complaining? Oh, friggin'!
Ain't no vec2.
That means I need to do that in the code as well. Holy hell.
Your computer is possessed.
I legit think it's actually its performance right now. It's a lot of these like kind of like pop-ups that are going on in VS Code and all that kind of thing.
Ugh.
That means all of these need to be vec2 from values, right?
Oh, uh-huh. Oh, and it's already unhappy about the return type, so. Oh,
Yeah.
I guess it's not because it sort of lets you. I like that you can return a number to match.
Oh, yeah. It somehow knows type checking wise, right?
I think it's because like the vec2 doesn't have any methods on it. You have to do everything vec2 dot something else. So it's like
Right.
it's very okay with that data structure.
Yeah. Argument of type vec2.
Oh, it's like it thinks it's an array and not a tuple. I think was actually the entire problem. We need to define a type on it. No, on 44, yeah. That's annoying.
Good times.
Okay.
To be it needs to be like deeply equal, right? And in fact, we have the class problem here because
You could do to contain equal. That was our deep value checking.
kind of deep value. Okay. Well,
I mean, let's find
that's
out.
not quite what we want because ordering matters. To equal deeply.
Maybe the expectation is expect vec2.equals quadrant to be true.
Sorry, can you say it one more time?
Yeah, our expectation is expect vec2.equals northwest, comma, what we think the new value should be. And we expect that to be true. We use the vec2 equality function.
Yeah, expect vec2 dot
Yep.
equals of northwest, the first thing.
We should. Oh,
And
right.
the northwest quadrant is this, right?
No. Isn't it going to be?
To be truthy? Gosh. Did I add too many parentheses here? I think I did.
No. No, you was better before. That's good.
Okay,
Oh,
it's just, I'm just missing
curly
the
brace.
whole close of this thing.
Now,
You were thinking that the numbers were wrong.
I think those numbers are wrong. I mean, let's run it real quick, but I think that's not it because we're going from 0, 0 to 2, 2. So northwest should be.
Okay.
We can pick a better starting.
Well, what it
quadrant.
is that like the starting thing is wrong, right? This should be 0, 2 to 2, 0, right? Because we're assuming with this AABB construction, we're assuming that the upper left, like the first value is the upper left corner, right? And
Does that matters, right? It always has to be that.
it does, which is kind of why the
Origin and
offset
dimensions, yeah.
and dimension is superior. Because even if the dimension is negative, you still kind of have a notion of like which way it's going. Right?
Okay. Then
But-
yeah, that makes more sense.
But it is also the case that our y-axis goes downwards, right? And we need to actually, I think this is maybe why our code is wrong, is we need to encode the orientation of the fact that the y-axis is flipped, right? Because our y-axis starts at 0 in the upper left corner.
Right.
So this was kind of 0, 0.
2, 2. Yeah, okay. We started off with the right assumptions, and that is the right quadrant 1 for that. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
But wait, does the test pass?
I was just going to keep going. I was just going to like plow
I know.
through and I was just going to write the rest of the game and then run the test case. I don't know. Sometimes you like you get in a roll and you get on a roll and you just like write a shit ton of code and you don't even test it, and then like 3 hours later you're like, oh my god, is any of this going to work? Right?
Yep.
What is this?
The test suite failed to run.
Well, false is not true.
Wait a minute. That's nowhere near the test case
Oh
anymore.
no, I just scrolled
okay.
up too high.
Results?
This is it. Node insert. These are just like programming problems because I didn't finish writing a function.
That's annoying. Thanks a lot, TypeScript. Ugh.
It's funny that's running all of our unit tests.
Come on. Wait, why is that suddenly a problem? Wasn't that there before? I thought...
So basically this needs to be question mark, right?
Oh, no, it's unhappy that I think you need to put 4 nils in there.
No, I can't have 4 items in there, and it shouldn't have any children starting out. So I think this is what it needs to be.
Okay.
Yep.
Is anything need an exclamation point after that?
That is a good call. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. And I feel like actually those, my goal will be to get rid of those, because I think once we have the correct check-in in place, we won't need to do that. We'll never be pushing items if there are children.
Yeah,
so
we'll
know
have
it's
these
there.
will both have branches, right?
Yeah, exactly. We made it inclusive. That's not true anymore.
Oh yeah, totally. So this first one needs to be like 1.1, right?
Yep. Yeah, if we want to see that.
And this also needs to be 1.1.
Can you copy lines 28 to 31 and do the test where we actually exclude on the boundary?
Hang on 1 second.
Oh yeah, sure.
I kind of order these funkily. And then
That's still good.
that's still good. So you're saying copy this one?
Yeah, without the 1.1, I want something to cover the case that in fact we do exclude the edge.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, in fact, maybe if we want to be really complete about it, actually it's not this. It's
that one. Yeah, that's weird.
sorry.
Nah, it's fine. This could be R0. Yeah, I feel good about that. Just because that's a fiddly little edge case.
Okay. Well, what this means though is that this unit test passed, right?
Oh, hey, it did. Sick.
I have no hotkey to clear this buffer. It's really annoying.
Command K doesn't clear it?
No.
What?
I have Sublime Text hotkeys.
Oh.
Well, if I do that, it expects another the rest of the chord.
Oh. Never mind.
What is that? Keyboard shortcuts. Can I just is there a mode where I can search for it by typing?
It's totally
I mean, that's it. I don't know why it expects a chord. It's almost as if it's like Emacs mode or something like that.
Yeah, I do not. I've never encountered that.
Okay, well, all of our tests pass.
Yeah, we did it. Thanks for humoring me.
No problem. Northeast, and okay, gotta do the math here. This is going to be 1, and then one and
2-1?
then 2 and 1.
Yeah.
That was like unbelievably painful. You could just hear the gears creaking in my head.
Dude, right there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, this is 1-1 to 2-2? Yeah. Thanks, southeast.
Southwest.
0-1
0-1
to 1-2? Yeah. Come on, Quadtree test.
You could do it.
Ah, interesting.
The Southwest one is a failure.
0, 1. Really?
Okay, that seems right. And then, so maybe our math is wrong.
Yeah, let's go look at the function. I think that is correct. Left edge, half down. Left edge, half width, all the way down. Isn't that it? Can we log out what it thinks the Southwest quadrant is?
We can do more than that.
Even better. Yeah.
Of course, it has to run. Okay, there we go. So Southwest is 1122. Well, that's very. Oh, you know what it is? Yeah. It's just.
Whew. Actually correct.
It's a good bug. It's a good bug. That makes you even more confident in your code.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to go from red to green.
Oh man, I was fixing a test at work today, and I deleted the function, and the test still passed, and I was like, oh no. Turns out it never even ran it. I was so heartbroken.
There's a cool testing philosophy where you randomly delete lines of your source code and see if your test still passed.
Whoa.
I guess that's a really, really forceful way of determining code coverage, right?
That sounds like some Netflix Chaos Monkey stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit
I'm
like
into
that.
it.
I actually had this sort of philosophical quandary, let's say at best, and existential horror at worst, thinking about tests, because you want to go through a testing cycle where the tests fail, either because you wrote the test wrong or because the code was wrong, and then the test then passed. But the relationship between test wrong, code correct, and test correct, code wrong is kind of mutually exclusive. Those are different things. And so basically what's in your unit test or whatever test you've written, unless it's really, really obvious to read, like these type of tests, anything that's a complicated test where it sets up a bunch of state and then does a bunch of things, you have no way of knowing whether that test actually proves anything, right? Because the history of whether it went from red to green and how it goes from red to green is lost. It's not part of what is encoded in the test, right?
Right, you can't say change this line of code to see it go red anywhere in there. Yeah.
Exactly. And so because it's not in there, you just basically have to trust the test to be correct. And the only real way you can do that is if it's literally this easy to read, right? This is a real test. Anything else that's more complicated than that, which I write this kind of tests all the time, are just kind of guardrails that become technical debt over time, right?
I was gonna say I picked up a testing philosophy at the end of Chain Interstellar Pogo from Croaky that was no outside dependencies on tests. You can't call a function that sets up stuff. If you're going to use a user and a post and a comment, every test specifies all of them in the test, no before step, no nothing. Write out exactly what your test depends on every time. And I really like it.
Yeah.
You get a lot closer to sort of what you're saying, where it's there's much less hidden. There's still plenty hidden, but
yeah, I mean that works, except when you have to deal with real life. I hate to say it, but I think that there are just edge cases that are way more complicated than are expressible, right?
Yeah, I mean at that point it's just you're trying to not drive the car off a cliff, right? But the car still goes off the cliff occasionally.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, even when you look at really well-maintained projects like Ruby on Rails or whatever, you look at their test suites, they're pretty bare bones. They're pretty slim,
and somehow still very confusing sometimes.
Totally. All right. So I don't even know what we were talking about. What are we doing here? We're making this bullshit here, right?
We got our quadrant, yeah.
Yes, we got our quadrants. So we want to insert into this doesn't make sense. It's node insert of the node, which is that, the AABB, the quadrant AABB, right? Of AABB, of the AABB that we're given. And it is quadrant.northwest. And it is the item. And this is like children, period, right?
Yep. Assigned a value but never used. What?
Oh, it's just because we're not calling it outside itself.
Oh, okay. It's weird for it to error inside itself where we call it, but sure.
Can we maybe, it feels weird to call this 4 times, but whatever, let's just do it.
Yeah, I mean, we could do something different for sure.
No, you're gonna have to do this if anyways.
Right, it's basically like
It's just
you run something no matter what that is pretty much equivalent to this.
It is. It's just like we do add a stack frame for each one of these things, which is a lot of, but it's not like it matters. Like hopefully the JIT is smart enough to figure it out, which
it looks like
I have no idea what.
We lost southeast in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Good call. And that is it, right? We're done. Otherwise, we assume that node.items is there. Which again is kind of like why I like having 2 different nodes here, but
perhaps
it's cool.
Yeah.
We knew this was coming, right? So this is actually the complicated case, right? So what we have to do is actually know what the max capacity is.
Right.
And then so what does that mean? We pass it in.
Oof.
Yeah, I hear you.
Recursion. That's fine. It's recursion. Always ends up like this.
Yep. Okay, so we've got max items, and now that we're there, so we have to decide if this dot, if node dot items. I guess we just assert it here, right? Is there an assertion?
Well, I think actually where we are, this is the wrong order because we need to, before we do insert into children, we need to look at our items. If we're at 4, we subdivide. If we're at max items, we subdivide, and if not, we can insert and return.
Yeah.
If node.items, I don't think we have this context. Yeah.
Gosh.
Sorry.
I think I'm just so ingrained thinking of this problem. Equals max items, right? Then
split.
We split. So what we do is we say this dot or node dot children equals. It's a new node.
Four new nodes, right?
Yeah. So new T node. And then what goes in here? Nothing?
Nothing.
Where do we declare node? It's right here.
It's just a type.
It's just an object, right?
Yeah, so you could just insert 4 empty objects there and call it a day.
Well, it has to be one of these, right?
True. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then,
Node.children equals this.
then we node insert our items.
Items equals. I think this is what I like. Const items equals
Node.items.
node.items. Node.items equals null.
No.
Right? No, we can't.
Undefined, yeah. Or delete node.items.
Okay, yes. Oh, so weird. And then we do.
We actually, wait, we're about to write all the same code you just wrote. Because we have to.
I was just going to do node ABB max items I, and then we're done.
Oh. Yep, love it. Okay.
Does that work? It's kind of weird.
That totally works. But we haven't inserted item. So one more node insert. Yeah.
So this is like a subdivide function. Do we want to break that out into a different thing?
Possibly, though it does fit here pretty cleanly.
Yeah.
I feel good about that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the base case is items and items less than max items we insert.
Is it worth splitting those into just an if-else?
Yeah, I like it because then node items is at least on for this scope.
Else?
Woof.
And this is kind of an else. And what we're really trying to do is assert that the children are there, right? I don't love it,
True.
but
yeah, I don't love it, but I feel safe about that. Okay.
Okay, so we basically have giant if-else here. I guess technically, maybe I like this better if node.children.
Oh, okay. What we just had.
Kind of. We're going to get rid of these exclamation points. The exclamation points have to be there no matter what. It just depends on where you like them. And this all sits in here flat. And then now we have to assume that these are there, right?
Because you don't want to wrap it in a... Oh, yeah.
Items bang, right? Then node.items. Skip that one. How's that look?
Good, I think.
And then it's complaining about this because this is just like...
It's just the last instance of that same issue, yeah. So we...
And this can be a return. And then this... And then maybe this actually is length less than max items. Put this sucker in there. This is all shaving yaks. I like shaving yaks. There's too much fur.
Yeah, you're optimizing for the fewest indents possible, which I'm into.
Yeah. So if it's not part of this thing, we'll get out. If you've already got children, you're already subdivided, so just try to insert it into every quadrant that we've got. Otherwise, if we aren't at capacity on this node, just put it onto the list. You're done. Otherwise, we're converting, right?
Yep. I think that's the crux of inserting, yeah. Cool. You want to export it?
Do I want to export this? I
Yeah.
don't.
No, because we could test it.
Yeah. This is exactly what you're talking about. The kind of like internal testing, right?
It's, I mean, yeah, I like don't want to overdo it, but it is hard to assert anything about the correctness of our quad tree otherwise. We don't have to. Do you not want to? We can go the other way.
No, we totally can. I actually normally would not test that.
Okay.
I would just like write this using that and just assume that it works. You're right to say that it doesn't test the internal mechanics, but it just depends on like how nervous I am about the complexity. And to be totally honest, I am nervous about this complexity, so maybe we should test it.
All right, let's do it. Real quick test though.
Okay. Yes.
Keep
So
it
this is
easy.
node insert. All right, and so what are the cases we want to test? We want to do like push into empty, push into already subdivided,
And then push into full.
not at limit, push and trigger subdivide. Is that right? Something like that?
Yeah, I think 69 and 73 are the same case.
Okay. Okay. Why does it not like my comments? Is it just like, oh, all these lint rules? Okay, let's make a node. Like yay.
That's it.
Then we'll do node insert of n1. The AABB will be the same. I'm trying to decide whether I want to use the same thing over and over, but let's just for now do this. Gosh, this vec2 thing.
I'm okay if we pass in tuples of numbers here, because like
I'm okay with it too. Does it type check?
yeah, it type checks and it is correct because of the way vec2 works. Like I think that's totally fine. Your function signature isn't done yet, but I think otherwise it's okay.
Let's say max items is even 1, right? It doesn't matter, right? And then the item is...
What the fuck is that never type? Something that takes a pause? Did we have something earlier in this test file? I think we did. We defined like a class, right?
Test item.
Yeah,
Yep.
cool. Zero, zero?
Yeah. And there's an automatic assumption that this goes into the AABB, right? Or no, there's not. It'll just fail.
Yeah, if it doesn't fit.
Oh, okay. So we should just push without.
Mm-hmm. And that would be like a test item of like 2, 2, neg1, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we expect n0 dot items to equal empty array still.
Is there to be empty? There's not.
Nah,
0.
too easy.
Gosh, cool. This is a lot of lines.
Yeah, it is. I feel good about it though.
To contain equal, gosh, I really want just the 2b's structurally equal. I wish they weren't such sticklers about this.
You could do, if we assign test item, you could do to contain the test item variable, because that will do object equality. Oh, but not n0. N0 we fucked up.
So maybe let's not over abstract here. Let's just call this I1 for now.
Yeah.
Really? Didn't collapse this? Is there any way we can get away with this being on all on one line? No,
Sure.
I'm just morbidly curious. Feels like it should fit, right?
Yeah, I think that fits now. Oh, ouch. All right. Can't help you there.
Yeah.
All right, so 95.
Honey badgers don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's a test. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? This is a complicated function with a complicated signature. It's fine, right? Luckily, these types are all very disparate. If these were at all similar, I'd actually turn that into an object, I think. Something in that's already subdivided. This is going to be tricky.
95 should be I1, by the way. That'll be a...
Good call. And this needs to be more nodes, right?
Yep.
New T node. Are we even exporting that?
No, it's just a object that contains
That is right.
item. Yeah, I like that part of this. That's my favorite part of the structure so far. Ugh.
Yeah. And then we're going into N2.
Oh, this is interesting. So we're inserting with that AABB.
Yeah.
This... Oh, I see. Yeah, we actually want it to be subdivided on integers. Totally. Okay. So we expect that children 0...
Yeah, should we insert into every single... Should we do kind of like a northwest,
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
northeast, southeast, southwest?
Sure.
And what do you like? Do you want these on the boundaries?
I'd be okay if you wanted to put them in the middle, but also that'll be really hard to read, and we'll have to do some math right now.
Right.
So that seems good.
Southeast is
1, 1.
1, 1.
And that should be 0, 1. Yeah, that actually is fine.
And then we insert all of them, right?
Yeah, 4 times. Ouch.
Well, this is a quadrant order, right? Is it not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we just have we have a series of these expectations.
Yep.
It's N2 dot children of something, right? And that's going to be a bunch of stuff like this, right? Quadrant dot northwest.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be items 0, items 2, 0. We lost that definition.
Oh, yeah. That?
Yeah, and items 2? I don't know why it's called items 2. Sweet.
Rinse and repeat. I I guess technically we could loop over the quadrants, but that starts to get a little bit magical, right?
I don't like doing loops in my assertions. Yeah.
I concur. One thing I think along the lines of what Croaky said is that I don't think reducing typing is a legitimate reason to do anything in programming anymore. I used
No.
to be radically about that, but
Not a bit. Yeah.
yeah.
Why is that upset? Oh, do we need to give it a type of test item?
Oh God.
Really?
Well, it worked with this one up here, didn't it?
Yeah. If you hover over N1, what is the type of N1?
Items never. It was fine with it.
Huh.
Why is it never? Is it just because we didn't define it here?
I don't know what a never type is. I've never seen that before.
What if I just did this?
I like it.
And
There's just 4 empty nodes. Yeah. Ugh.
I'm surprised it's not complaining about the children being potentially null.
Argument of type children node item. Jeff, the
Does
problem.
this need to be a tuple?
Yeah, the problem is that it thinks it's not a tuple.
Oh, fucking Christ. So I have to export this type, right?
Yeah. Ugh. Would it be? Is it worth indexing, making that an object of some sort? That's really annoying.
Like this.
Hey, friend. Come on up.
All right, Bandit, you want to be on the stream? You're on the stream. Good boy.
Bandit? How did I not know the name of your cats?
Oh, I don't know. Got a Bandit and a Vesper. They're good cats.
Good boy.
Oh, come on. How do I do... Is it this? How do I type a...
Oh, gosh.
It's not importing, first of all.
I think, what if you defined a variable children of type child list equals that tuple?
The worst.
This is pretty rough.
I'm with you.
And that needs a generic. Okay, yeah, totally. A child list of test node. Test item, sorry.
It's okay. I'm on autopilot here.
Whew. Okay.
Boy, that's rough.
Okay, Okay.
Okay. Well, that's a test case.
I saw a red one. One of the items.
Problems
Oh, there you
potentially undefined. Okay.
go. Boom.
We're gonna run this.
Run it. It's
We're
going
gonna
to
see what
pass
happens.
too. It's going to pass.
Huh?
It's a great
totally gonna
test.
pass.
Yeah.
It's fine. The test is perfect.
Oh.
Um.
Oh, hey, that's actually really cool. N0. Wait, was that our empty case? That should be expect to be 0.
I won. Wait. Did I mix? Yeah, I mixed.
That should be N1. Yeah, totally.
I guess maybe these should be different test cases, but you know. Because then it'd just be N. It doesn't have to have the one in front, one
True.
behind it. Right. Did that
Hey.
pass?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, incredible. Gosh. All right.
Feels good.
Last.
Jeff, yeah, we are 10 past the hour,
Oh,
but
we're at 10 past. Yeah, we should maybe close it, right? But
yeah, I
you were
think,
saying.
No, I think we made excellent progress. So
But we can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because once this whole thing is done, it'll be pretty easy to fill in insert. It's just a node insert at the root at that point. The query is going to be kind of interesting to do.
query's gonna be interesting.
Maybe there's a corresponding node search. Similar to node insert. What do you think?
Similar node insert. Yeah, I feel like we're going to. Yeah, another recursive function that actually subdivides by. It uses the quadrant for AABB.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, essentially, a lot of times trees are. Sometimes they'll just like. They're just recursive structures, right?
Yep.
The trees include the trees, or rather, the tree object itself is just a node, and your tree is just the pointer to the root of that, right?
I think we're getting pretty close to that if we have node search and node query, or we have node insert. If we add node search, suddenly I care a lot less.
Exactly. The only thing is that the way that we're doing it right now normalizes a little bit because we store max items and probably the full dimension, the full AABB of the entire thing in one location rather than having it, duplicating it across a bunch of different objects inside.
Yeah, and notably, we don't store the root AABB yet. Oh, we probably should.
We will need it. Yeah. We will need it because when we do either the insert or the query, we're going to need them, right?
Yeah, though I could imagine a world where our tree is actually just an interface of a node, a max items, and an AABB, and we don't have to construct it.
Yeah. And then the advantage of, I suppose the advantage of storing the AABB on every node is that you don't have to do this math every single time.
Yeah,
but the math is not expensive. I don't know.
It's not. This is one of those cases where I'm actually really curious about if we could instrument that in any way. Maybe we could run it both ways and run a benchmark and see what we get.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious if that computation is actually expensive. Same for the item.pos being a clone right now. There's a lot of vec2.clones, but I think they're the cheap bits. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you pass this into a function, there's a fair amount of code, but it almost feels like adding extra crap to a bunch of different objects redundantly seems almost, you'd have memory access concerns, like memory pressure or something like that. That feels like that would start to dominate. But
Yep.
We wouldn't know until we profiled it. And to be totally honest, I'm not going to profile it until this class becomes a problem, I think.
Yeah, and I think we'll add this and be able to see, in fact, that everything is working much, much better. So that'll be that.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right, what are we playing tonight, game-wise?
Whew. Man, that's a great question. I need to finish up some Alan Wake, probably.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
If people are around, I'll probably play Remnant with them, but if not, I might get Hades.
Oh, shit.
Crack.
Is that multiplayer?
It's
Okay. Is that,
It's not
is
even
that,
on PS4, because we could definitely get on PS4.
is that out on Switch?
It's on Switch and on PC.
I might get it on Switch.
Switch feels like the right console to play it on, and yet... Why do I not want to play it on Switch? I think I actually try to avoid Switch now, unless it's like...
Mario.
There's some games that like I really want to play on Switch. For some reason, just like the really 2D looking ones.
But the halfway there and you're not into it.
Well, it's, like, Bunny really likes playing Switch, right? We have Spiritfarer. So there's also the kind of, like, parallelization thing.
That's fair, yeah.
As well. So we'll see. Okay. Well, anyways, this is a nice kind of computer sciencey one.
It was good.
Had a good time with it.
I like our algorithm streams. They're fun ones.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to commit this to a branch, and if we get around to it, we can chip away at it before next stream, or
Yeah.
we'll just carry it forward.
Put it on main. No branches. Test pass.
The tests do pass. We have no problems either.
Yeah. We have no problems.
Okay. All right, cool. I'll put it on a main.
Heck yeah.
Alrighty.
All right,
Until
cool.
next time. Thursday.
See you, Twitch.